The survival strategy: why Black women's entrepreneurship isn't just inspirational, it's indicting America. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'm truly honored to stand before you to share some powerful insights I gained from my recent interview with Yvette Huff, a visionary leader who has fundamentally transformed the landscape for Black women entrepreneurs across America. Yvette isn't just building businesses, she's architecting liberation. Through her groundbreaking work creating funding pathways and mentorship networks, she has empowered thousands of Black women to claim their economic power in a system designed to deny it. What makes Yvette extraordinary isn't just her brilliance or her determination, it's her radical honesty. She refuses to sugarcoat reality while simultaneously building bridges over the very chasms she exposes. Today, I want to challenge a fundamental assumption that permeates our cultural narrative about entrepreneurship, particularly when we discuss Black women business owners. We've been telling ourselves a comforting story that the remarkable growth in Black women owned businesses represents a triumph of the American dream, a testament to opportunity, innovation, and choice. But what if I told you that this inspiring trend actually reveals something far more troubling about our economic system? What if the entrepreneurial surge among Black women isn't primarily about opportunity, but necessity? What if starting a business has become, for many Black women, not just a dream, but a survival strategy? This is the counterintuitive truth that emerged from my conversation with Yvette, and it's backed by data that should make us all deeply uncomfortable. Let me share three critical insights that challenge how we typically frame this conversation. First, despite decades of diversity initiatives and corporate pledges, the gender pay gap has remained stubbornly persistent. As of 2025, women overall still earn just 83 cents for every dollar earned by men. That's a mere 4-cent improvement since 2003. 22 years, 4 pennies. For Black women, this gap is even more severe, with compounding racial and gender discrimination, creating what Yvette calls an economic double bind. Second, Black women are simultaneously America's most educated demographic in terms of college and graduate school enrollment, yet remain drastically underrepresented in leadership positions. As of 2023, Black women held only 4% of C suite executive roles. This education to leadership gap demonstrates that credentials alone cannot overcome systemic barriers. Third, and perhaps most revealing, Black women owned businesses increased by over 40% between 2017 and 2024, outpacing all other demographic groups. While we celebrate this growth, we must recognize what it truly represents: not just resilience, but a strategic pivot away from systems that have historically undervalued Black women's contributions. As Yvette powerfully stated in our interview, when the front door is locked, you don't just keep knocking, you build your own house. Let's examine the evidence more closely. Consider what's happening in political leadership. For decades, Black women have been the backbone of political organizing, consistently showing the highest voter turnout rates among all demographic groups. Yet they've rarely seen themselves represented in elected positions. Through targeted recruitment efforts, grassroots organizing, and support networks, Black women have made significant strides. In 2025, they reached a record 399 state legislative seats across the United States. That's 5.4% of the nation's state legislative seats, with 390 Democrats, 7 Republicans, 1 nonpartisan, and 1 independent. This increased representation is creating more diverse policy perspectives and advocacy for issues affecting Black communities. But let's be clear, Black women remain underrepresented compared to their 7.8% share of the population. As Yvette noted, political power creates pathways to economic power. But the inverse is also true. Economic independence fuels political influence. This brings us to the entrepreneurial revolution happening among Black women. The statistics are striking. Between 2017 and 2024, the number of Black women owned businesses increased by over 40%. According to the 2024 annual business survey by the US Census Bureau, Black women now own nearly 2.7 million businesses in the United States. But here's what makes this trend so complex. Black women entrepreneurs have historically faced significant barriers to capital, with less than 1% of venture capital going to Black women founders. Think about that for a moment. Less than 1%. Faced with limited opportunities in traditional corporate settings, Black women have increasingly turned to entrepreneurship as both a means of economic survival and a path to wealth creation. They've created alternative funding networks, community based capital, and specialized accelerator programs. This entrepreneurial surge is creating jobs, building wealth in Black communities, and developing new business models that center the experiences and needs of Black consumers. It's a powerful testament to resilience and innovation. But, and this is crucial, we must not romanticize this trend without acknowledging its root causes. As Yvette explained, when we celebrate Black women's entrepreneurship without addressing why it's become necessary, we risk normalizing exclusion. We turn systemic failure into a personal triumph narrative. Let's look at the persistent gender pay gap for Black women between 2003 and 2025. Black women face a double penalty in compensation due to both gender and racial biases in the workplace. Despite pay transparency initiatives, equity audits, and targeted advancement programs, the gender pay gap has remained stubbornly persistent. The continued pay disparities have economic consequences not just for individual Black women, but for their families and communities, limiting wealth building opportunities across generations. When traditional employment consistently undervalues your worth, entrepreneurship becomes not just appealing, but necessary. As Yvette powerfully stated, the system isn't broken, it's functioning exactly as designed. What's broken is the myth that hard work and education alone will overcome centuries of structural inequality. This perspective fundamentally challenges how we think about entrepreneurship among marginalized groups. It forces us to ask uncomfortable questions about our economic systems and workplace cultures. What does it mean when the most educated demographic in America must create their own opportunities because existing structures fail to recognize their value? What does it say about our corporate environments when talented Black women increasingly opt out of them? And most importantly, how do we move from celebrating resilience to eliminating the need for it? The affirmation that Yvette shared with me during our interview has stayed with me. I am not just overcoming obstacles, I am exposing them so that others may walk an easier path. This is where we need a fundamental shift in how we approach these issues. Instead of asking Black women to adapt to broken systems, we need to fix the systems themselves. For corporate leaders, this means moving beyond diversity statements to examining how your organization's culture, policies and practices might be pushing talented Black women out the door. It means conducting pay equity audits, creating transparent promotion pathways, and holding leadership accountable for meaningful change. For investors, it means recognizing the massive untapped potential in Black women led businesses. The data shows that diverse founding teams consistently outperform homogeneous ones, yet investment dollars don't reflect this reality. By overlooking Black women entrepreneurs, you're not just perpetuating inequality, you're missing profitable opportunities. For policymakers, it means addressing the structural barriers that make entrepreneurship necessity rather than a choice for many Black women. This includes expanding access to capital, strengthening equal pay legislation, and supporting childcare solutions that enable career advancement. And for consumers, it means being intentional about where you spend your dollars. Supporting Black women owned businesses isn't just a nice thing to do, it's a concrete way to address systemic inequities through your daily choices. As Yvette reminded me, every dollar is a vote for the kind of world you want to live in. I want to share a quote that Yvette mentioned during our conversation from Audre Lorde. Caring for myself is not self indulgence, it is self preservation. And that is an act of political warfare. For Black women entrepreneurs, creating businesses that honor their worth isn't just about profit. It's an act of radical self valuation in a world that consistently undervalues their contributions. The entrepreneurial revolution among Black women represents both a powerful response to exclusion and a roadmap for creating more equitable economic systems. By recognizing entrepreneurship as both triumph and necessity, we can celebrate Black women's resilience while working to create a world where such extraordinary resilience isn't required. I want to leave you with this challenge. What if we stopped asking Black women to be exceptional just to receive what should be freely given? What if we recognize that a system requiring superhuman strength from some while offering easy paths to others isn't just unfair, it's fundamentally broken? Your task isn't just to admire Black women entrepreneurs from afar. Your responsibility is to become an active accomplice in dismantling the barriers that made their extraordinary resilience necessary in the first place. So I ask you, what will you do tomorrow that you didn't do today? Whose business will you fund? Whose voice will you amplify? Whose path will you clear? Because the truth is this: Black women aren't just building businesses, they're showing us exactly where our systems are failing. And in that failure lies our greatest opportunity for transformation. The question isn't whether Black women will continue to rise. They always have, they always will. The question is whether the rest of us will finally recognize that their struggle isn't their problem to solve, it's ours. Thank you.